And I made it to the green chair. Happy Friday, everybody. Good to be with you. I love coming and being here on Friday and talk to you raw and unedited, unscripted. And I'm just here to further answer some questions that you guys asked me last night on my live stream. Had a fantastic live stream. Unbelievable how many people were there. And the questions really kept Robbie and Jessica very busy posting questions, and they didn't get to all of them because we only have 59 minutes to go. And so I like to come back the next day and say howdy doody and talk to you a little bit more about questions that you have. That's one thing I want to start off by saying is probably one thing that you'll notice about my true desire on being on YouTube is to help you and to help you keep bees healthier and make fewer mistakes. That's really why I'm here. That's really why that's what wakes me up in the morning and makes me want to go to work. I don't have any other job. I make my living off of bees, off of YouTube, off of helping other people, you know, keep bees. So I always appreciate an opportunity to help beekeepers. I am an EAS Certified Master Beekeeper. That's Eastern Apicultural Society, the grandfather of all certification programs. And it started in Cornell University with Roger Morse 45 years ago. And this year we certified 5 new candidates out of 24, I believe. And anyway, I feel like it's my responsibility as a master beekeeper to help other people. Now, I'm going to answer a lot of questions today, and if you didn't ask this question, you're going to benefit because you were thinking it or you're going to face it in the future, so pay close attention. Let me also say, though, that it's impossible for me to answer every question that you have. I do have a mentorship program where I give that top priority, and but it's hard for me to answer every single question because we literally receive hundreds upon hundreds of questions each week, and I'm one person. I would love to do that, but it's difficult. But anyway, just rest assured that the best way that I try to answer questions is by making 3 or 4 videos a week, working hard for you guys, putting my bee suit on, getting into hives, making videos. I try to answer questions by coming on here Friday and also on Thursday night live stream, answering your questions live. So I'm working hard. I don't know what more I can do. Okay. How long will robbing go on? Oh, I think I answered this last night. Is it safe to keep my hive robbing screen closed? I was one day too late. I did answer that last night. So this is live and unedited. And so I'm going to have to just skip over that one. Let me see. I answered that one last night. Okay. Oh, here comes UPS. No, that's thunder. Oh, wow. I thought it was my UPS truck. Let's see. Okay, here's a good one. Don't believe I answered this one last night. What happens, there's a process that after the live stream is no longer live, myself and Jessica, Sherry, Robbie, we go through the ones that aren't answered and they're starred. And so we sometimes miss ones that we do answer and they're still starred. But anyway, here's a good one. I have 2.5 frames of honey feeding sugar water now. Will bees make it if I use your winter bee kinds? I can't really say because whether bees make it through winter, which I assume you mean, we really don't know what your virus loads are. You could have a lot of mites that are spreading viruses, or you can have a few mites that are spreading a lot of viruses. Some people think that just because their mite levels are 3% per 100 bees or below, that their bees aren't going to be affected by mites. But that's kind of a benchmark where at 2 to 3 mites per 100, 2 to 3% is going to be a point where you need to start treating. But you can still lose your colony from viruses even without mites. And I know that because before mites came into the U.S., we lost bees from viruses before mites. So bees have viruses. They had viruses before mites. Mites just spread them more. Okay, so can't say, feeding does help, right? Feeding actually does help. So Garland, I would just say feed the daylights out of your bees during a dearth coming into fall, and then feed them in the wintertime and keep your fingers crossed. But mite levels being low, having a good laying queen is essential. All right, Mike has a question. I have 3 hives and they have some brood, but they're mostly honey and nectar bound. What should I do? I was feeding 1-to-1, but the bees are still bringing in some pollen. I'm in Ripley, Tennessee. Again, a lot of you probably want a very scientific cookbook science date, measurement, exact minutes and hours to what you're supposed to be doing. You know, I love art. I am an artist, and I guess in the true sense of it, I have several things that I'm very artistic in. But an artist is somebody that understands whatever their artistic nature is about their item or their subject. And it goes beyond science. There's an art and then there's a science. And with bees, I'm a proponent for science, for beekeeping, entomology, biology of honeybees. You know that. I talk about that all the time. But there comes a point when you can apply all the scientific knowledge you can to beekeeping and your bees still die. You still have a problem, right? We often say bees don't read the same books we read. So Mike, you know, this is a good question. I know that you want some definite answers on when do I stop feeding, when do I start feeding, how does it all work, what's going to be best for my bees. Learning the art of reading your bees is going to be monumentous. It really is. Is that the right word? Monumentous. Yeah, I think so. So opening up a hive, looking at frames, seeing what kind of stored resources they have, seeing if the queen is still laying a lot of brood in the fall. If she's not, she needs fed. The hive needs fed so they can support her egg laying and raise larvae that she's laying. So I would say they're in Tennessee, feeding 1-to-1. I would always feed 1-to-1. I don't care where I lived in the U.S. In the fall, I'm feeding 1-to-1 because I want them to lay bees of winter physiology. And that 1-to-1 is going to, with our additives, are going to simulate a spring flow and get them to start laying more eggs. So bees of winter physiology. All right. Paula says, I cannot test for mites because of robbing. Should I try to treat them? You know, I like that question. If you open up a hive sometimes in late summer or fall, other bees around your area, it doesn't have to be your colonies, it can be bees 2 miles away in a tree that you don't know about. They can come and rob while you got your hive open. So you really can't do a mite test, it sounds like, or you start a robbing frenzy. So in that case, it might be better to go ahead and treat. I don't advocate that, strictly speaking. I always say test, treat, and test. But in your case, you can't test, so maybe a treatment of your choice would be good to do. That's probably what I would do. Maybe. I think I would be concerned if I couldn't get in there and do something like see where they're at. So treatment might be the way to go, even assuming that they have mites. That's a tough one, yeah. Sorry about that robbing. Marianne Livingston. I have a small robber screen on my nuke box. I have a queen emerging today. Okay, that's interesting. Fingers crossed she has time to mate. Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. Should I take the robber screen off to make it easier for her to leave and to come back? Yeah, can you? I think it would be a good idea. I don't think she's going to have a problem getting in and out if she's got to walk through the same opening in the robber screen that your bees do. She's going to be able to detect where everybody's coming and going and mimic that. So you could probably get by with not doing it, although it sure seems like it would help her out, doesn't it? Your call. I don't know. It all depends, but I kind of like the idea of opening it up, watching for robbing. Yeah. Is it reasonable to continue feed your bees except when you have honey supers on? Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Now, I don't like to feed my bees if I have a lot of nectar sources available. even if I don't have a chance to put my honey supers on, but I know that they're bringing in a lot of nectar from flower sources that I can visually see. I don't care too much about, you know, feeding them if they're bringing in a lot of pollen and nectar. But it's not a bad idea. If they don't want it, they'll always stop taking your sugar water when they have real nectar, is what I've found. Yeah, they really will. How do you feed sugar water on your flow hive? Do you remove the super so you don't get sugar water honey or what? Good question. They told me that this was a question that we didn't get to last night after we got off of being live. And I remember mentioning to my team that, man, I'd like to look at the flow hive book to see what they recommend. I don't know what the book recommends. I recommend you probably do what the book says. It comes with a nice book. However, personally, I'm taking my honey super off. You know, the flow hive frames that you turn the crank and the honey comes out? Yeah, I'm taking that off for winter. I don't need that up there because there's a queen excluder under it, right? I don't want my bees going through the queen excluder and my queen getting trapped down below and perishing outside the cluster. So I'll just simply take my super off, store it nicely. I'll feed my winter bee kinds, take the queen excluder off, and I think I'll be able to use their same top. If not, I'll put one of my tops on. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Good question. Hey, Bob, what's a good way to store the honey supers for winter? I get this question. If I got a nickel for every time I get asked this question, I would have probably $25 in my pocket now. The best way to store supers is to extract the honey, and I assume that's what you've done. And you don't want to put them back on there because they're not going to fill them up, right? So I usually store them in a freezer. Now, if I don't have the freezer space, which I do have a large freezer for that purpose, but if I don't have, if it's all filled up, then what I'll do is I'll freeze them for a couple of days to kill all the eggs of small white beetle and, you know, wax moth larvae eggs. And then I'll store them in a cool, dry place. We have a room, we have a couple of big rooms dedicated in our shop for this kind of stuff. It's insect free, free of ants and cockroaches, mice, and we keep it about 60%, 50 to 60% humidity all winter, which is really easy to do in Illinois. But that's where I store them. And as long as there's wind blowing through them a little bit, we have wind blowing in there. So if you don't have that, try to put them in a room that you enjoy being in the wintertime, that's comfortable for you. And I teasingly say you might have to put some cardboard down, put them in your bedroom. I mean, you don't want to put them in a damp basement. They'll get mildewy. You don't want to bag them up. They'll mildew. Got to keep them kind of in the open, free of insects, low humidity. Boom, there you go. How you work that out, I know it's a challenge. Hey, Anthony, how are you doing? I love seeing you here. Why would I be finding few bees with their heads and cells dying this time of the year? We always think, Anthony, that's starvation because they're trying to get the last drop of nutrition that, you know, in the base of that cell. I'm sorry to hear that. Are they hungry? I'm sure if you were here, you would answer, no, I've got honey supers on there. I got honey in the frames. So I can't really attest to why that is other than falling back to what we know that usually represents. You see that in the wintertime. Bees will die trying to get the last drop of honey. Other than that, not sure. Have you had some cold nights where they clustered and died trying to eat some honey? I'm not sure where you live. Daryl, you mentioned a bit about half-filled supers, but what do you actually do with them when it comes time to put them off and store them for winter? Manitoba, Canada. Yeah, I think I just answered that. Hope that storm is going that way, not coming this way. I hear the thunder. You probably don't hear it. Daryl, I know it's tough if they're not all the way filled out. Store them, freeze them, kill the eggs of things in there, store them as I described in the previous question in a dry room. Try to store them as best as you can. I think freezing first is going to help a lot. Nancy, well, yep, same thing. What should I do with a semi-filled super? Lots of nectar, but not capped yet. Same thing. I know this is, see, maybe I would make $30 if I got a nickel every time this is asked. Yeah, I know, you're just wondering. I don't really, I guess for me, what I try to do, maybe this is helpful. I'm not perfect at it. Yeah, I'm not perfect. But as the season goes along, I get an early notification by making inspections that they're never going to add more up here. You know, this super I need to take off now. So I don't put any more supers on much after late June or early July. So all of my supers that are on my hive are mostly all filled over, capped over late June or sometime in July. At that point, I don't have to worry about it, right? I only put enough on there for them to work. I know that, oh, they'll do this one. I don't know if you can see, there's one back there that has 4 or 5 supers on. I knew they would fill every one of those. I think I talked about taking 1 or 2 off and harvesting. I may leave them all on there, not sure yet. So try to work it, you know, reverse, what's it called? I can't think of the terminology right now. Ooh, that was a big streak of lightning, and it wasn't very far away. I have lightning detectors on the building right there. That's for when we're working in the fields. It will detect lightning, and then it will send a notice to the phone, which is recording right now, so I don't get that notice. Reverse engineering, that's the term I'm looking for. It took a bolt of lightning to jog my brain, to electrify me. Reverse engineer it means that, you know, I don't want to get in this situation. Like, what do I do not to wind up there? Let's back up and say, let's start earlier in the year. Yeah. Great. Oh, okay. We missed a few here. Travis, thank you for your live stream donation last night. I've had my 5 hives for 6 months with 3 being single. Oh, single deeps. I've never done a varroa test. Should I test all hives or just a few? Also, every time I refill the feeders, the bees swarm on most of the hive. Why is that? The bees swarm on most of the hives. Sounds like robbing. They must smell the feeders? I don't know. Wonder what kind of feeders you're using. If you're using, you know, big open feeders like reservoir feeders on top, that would make sense. Even frame feeders give off a lot of odor. You wouldn't think so much on the way that we do it is by the jar feeder method through the lid holes. Not much smell goes out. Now back to your question though about should I test all the hives or just a few? I think people are kind of divided on this one. I'm not, and the way I kind of rationalize this is that every single hive is different. You can have a hive right there that has 30 mites per 100 bees. Gosh, you can have a hive right here that has 1 mite per 100 bees, right beside each other. It's just like, let's say you have a room full of 10 people. Let's say that you go to the doctor and there's 10 people in the waiting room. You know, they always take your weight, height, and blood pressure. Well, they're not going to just take the weight of one person or the blood pressure of one person. Blood pressure is going to be different from person to person. Same with bees, you know. I'm afraid you would be better off to know exactly how each hive is dealing with mites and react accordingly. Yeah. Hey, Chris. Oh, Chris says I watching my first live chat. Well, Chris, welcome. Good for you. What a privilege that to have you with us. I love it when people watch. We had so many people last night at our live stream. We gave away a new beekeeping educational kit, which was awesome, and I believe Cindy won that. We just shipped that out today, the very next day. Okay. Double deep, absolutely booming. Brood in both deeps, stuffed full of honey and nectar, no more room. Can I remove some resources to the weaker hives? I'm in northern Indiana. Ooh. I'm always worried about taking, at this time of the year, sharing resources out of a very strong hive to try to help weaker hives, because I could possibly make my strong hive weak and my frames I move over don't help the weak hive at all. Might be a bad queen, right? That's going to be your call. I really do. I mean, you can do it. If they're stuffed with honey and nectar, there's no more room to lay, it sounds like. Why not? Why not? Let's just try one. Don't go crazy. Just test it with one. And then if that kind of does the trick, maybe you can get by with another one a little bit later. I think that might help too. Oh, yeah. All right. I'm doing good, going right through here, and the storm is getting closer. I would be sad to, see a big bolt of lightning, and then all at once, unedited, I'm just leaving. I'm out of here, One of these trees got hit by lightning one year. I think it might have been that one. Yeah, it kind of burned up the middle a little bit. We've had trouble with that tree ever since. Need to have it trimmed a little bit. Got more questions for you. But by the way, please subscribe to my channel. Appreciate you subscribing. When the lightning hit though, it's one of those things where lightning hits the same time it goes kaboom. And leave a comment if you've ever had that experience. It's terrifying. It's like a bomb went off and you were in it. And it burned up everything plugged into the electricity. I mean, it burned up everything. TVs, microwave, TV, washing machines, and garbage disposal, you name it. Telephone system, everything burned up. I mean, I don't think anything worked. I thought the power went off. The power is on, but everything's burned up. Maybe there was one or two things that worked, but it was terrible. So, I'm out here when storms come. Oh, that storm has an anvil on top now. When storms come, the wind comes straight in. We have a basement. And in Illinois, we're in Tornado Alley, essentially. And you just kind of like bite your nails. A lot of people in Illinois, where we live here, the next day after a storm are kind of gripey and grumpy because the storms are so bad sometimes that they keep you up all night, right? Because, you don't want to sleep through a tornado. I'm a terribly hard sleeper. We have ADT alarm system in our house, our property here. It helps our insurance rate go down, and we're like 7,000 miles from the nearest fire station. I mean, golly, if we have a fire, they need a head start, believe me. Holy cow. I think we're 3 or 4 miles from the fire station, but I'm way out in the country. Well, the problem with me sleeping hard is I don't hear things at night. It's nothing to do with my being hard of hearing. I sleep so hard. Oh gosh. So a couple of nights ago, we had a bad storm roll through, and Christian woke me up. Sherry's still traveling. I need some water. And Christian said, I'm just going to be down in the basement. I was like, oh, what's going on? Yeah, it's storming. And I could hear it. The wind was terrible, thunder, lightning, blah, blah, blah. I was too tired to go to the basement. Christian said the next morning, I can't believe you didn't hear that storm. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be one of those people that are going to just get hit by a tornado, and I'm going to wake up in the morning in the middle of a cornfield in my bed, and I'm just going to be like, what am I doing in a cornfield? Why? I feel like I got a good night's sleep, but I don't see my house. I'm really refreshed, but I'm in the middle of a cornfield. Tell me what's going on, Scary. I need somebody to be awake while I sleep. I need a watcher a guard to watch me while I sleep to tell me. I actually probably need to call ADT and tell them to put the alarm closer to my bed, because we only have, I think, 2 alarms in the house, and they're not near the bedroom. I don't know why I don't hear alarms. Okay. Anyway, thanks for watching the live chat. Oh no, we were talking about moving supers around. Can I remove some sources to weaker hives? And we talked about that. Okay, good. Oh, did I get through them all? Boy, this goes so fast. I don't think we did. No, we didn't. Here, let's keep going. Already saw that one. Yep. Oh, here's a good one. Would it help to put, this is David Burns raw and unedited. Sorry if you're like, man, he talks so slow. Somebody said they watch my videos and they speed it up to 1.75. And that way they can hear me. And then when they hear me talk normally, they think I talk really slowly. Sometimes people tell me I talk too fast, which is ironic. If you chase comments, you can never satisfy people. Some people say you're too slow when you talk, and some people say you talk too fast. I don't understand. Can't hear what you're saying. You're talking so fast. I'll try to talk faster. Okay. So would it help to put a slight forward tilt to hives over winter so condensation runs forward and out rather than dripping on bees? That was kind of coined back in the 1800s by Reverend Langstroth and all of his books and articles that he wrote. He actually did that. And everybody did. I did. Before there were screen bottom boards, we all angled our hives so the water that collects on the top or the side of the walls would run down and out of the hive, right? Yeah. Yeah, you should do that. But a lot of my hives have screen bottom boards on it. And a lot of my hives, the ground shifts. So I start off maybe that way, but then in the winter time, heaving and thawing and all that, they change. Not a bad idea to do it. Not a bad idea. On the moisture. But I don't deal with moisture anymore because I put my Winter Be Kind on there. It absorbs moisture into the candy and it has an insulated top on it. That's usually where your moisture occurs. Everybody today agrees, whether you're running a condensing hive like my good friend Bill Hesbaugh does, the godfather of condensing hives. He and I are friends, but whether you're running a condensing hive or not, ventilated hives, whatever, everybody agrees you need top insulation. You know, everybody agrees to that. Not so much the walls, but definitely on top. Hey, David, I'm a new beekeeper from Idaho. All right, land of potatoes. Last month, my only beehive's brood was depleted by European foul brood. Is there a treatment for it? They've started to recover, but I still see dying brood. Oh, yeah. European foul brood is very, very bad. You know, it is. And it's contagious. I'm not going to say it's not as bad as American foul brood, but I'd like to think it's not as bad as American foul brood. American foul brood is really bad. But European foul brood can devastate your yard pretty quickly. It's a bacteria that happens in the brood, and we see it more in the spring. And yeah, the symptoms, for those of you who've never heard of it, it's the brood will look gray, sometimes more transparent. You can see the spiracles in the developing larvae, but the larvae is going to be not pearly white. They're going to be grayish, dying, some of them standing up in cells, spotty brood. It's just, yeah, it's not good. I'm going to have to admit that every time I open a hive up, I've had European foul brood many years ago, and every time I open a hive up to this day, I instantly look at the larvae. I need to see pearly white larvae, not sickly, grayish, twisted larvae. That's European foul brood. Is it treatable? Absolutely. We have antibiotics for it, terramycin brand, and it's now required that you have a veterinarian prescribe the antibiotic, kind of make a diagnosis and prescribe the antibiotic to you. But yeah, you can treat that. And it responds very quickly. I know there's different species or, strands of European foul brood, but for the most part, it responds very quickly to treatment, to answer your question. But you do need a vet to make that assessment. Absolutely. I think that was the last question. Oh gosh, it was, wasn't it? Oh, all right. Hey guys, I want to talk to you before I go about something that I feel is really cool, and I've mentioned this a lot, and I'm going to keep preaching this. But, I have always been a fixer-upper, and I have a great desire to fix up things. And I'm not only a fixer-upper, but I'm also a person that I'm real methodical. I think I probably had ADHD, or probably still do, but a lot of the things that I do, like videos, or I restore old bicycles, vintage bicycles. I've started restoring old vintage typewriters. Oh my gosh, I love restoring things. I mean, it's so, can you just imagine? If you've never restored something, I told you there's an artist in me, but restoring something is so therapeutic for me because I can sit there and say, who used to type on this typewriter? What did they type on it? Who used to ride this bicycle? And, where did they go? Did they go get ice cream on their bicycle? Who rode this bicycle? What city was this bicycle from? It's amazing. I just love the idea of taking something that was so important at one point, so beautiful at one point in the existence of that thing, and restoring it back to beauty again. I try never to use new parts. I always restore bicycles without buying parts unless it's absolutely necessary. But it's amazing how you can make something look so beautiful. Maybe I'll try to pull up some pictures here and paste them in here. But I've had so much fun through the years restoring things. Some of you guys restore maybe cars. Restoring a car is way beyond. I just try to keep my cars running. But hats off to you guys that take an old, 1960 something and restore a muscle car that's all rusted out and make it look beautiful. That's got to be fun. I admire you guys for doing that, guys and gals and all. But restoring things, fixing things, let's don't let that die, please. It doesn't have to die with the older generation, I don't think. I think we need to teach younger people. I really believe in trade school. I really do. I'm not faulting knowledge education degrees. I have one. And so, but I do believe that if you have a trade, and you don't have to go to, you don't always have to go to college to get a trade. I mean, some trades you have to go to college to be licensed, like if a lawyer or a doctor. There's several that you're going to have to go through your training in universities to get a license to operate your practice. But if you don't have to get a license, you don't have to go to college to learn it. I mean, really. You might have to go to training. You might have to, before you can join a union, you have to go through training and all to be a plumber or electrician and all. And I know degrees help. I understand that. But I think a time might come when people that have skills with their hands are going to be the ones that are going to find jobs readily available and in desperate need. I always need a carpenter. I really do. I do my own carpentry. I'm not saying I can't. I've done it. I've rebuilt my whole house. I built this porch. I literally built the porch myself. Every single board and screw, I built this myself. It wasn't here. But what I'm saying is that beekeeping is neat because beekeeping helps us to use our hands. If you buy, look, here's something. Rather than buy your beehive assembled, maybe buy it unassembled. Okay, maybe that's way beyond your skill set. All right, how about buying a nuke box unassembled, a 5-frame nuke box? There's only 4 parts to it, maybe 5 or 6, counting the bottom and the top. I don't know. Put it together yourself. Go to a big box store, buy some exterior glue, Gorilla Glue, and get some stainless steel screws or whatever kind of screws you want to use. You might need a little hand drill to pre-drill the holes in there. I don't like splitting wood. I always like to pre-drill a little bit with a smaller bit than the screw size. It's just so cool to work with your hands, whether you're restoring something or building something new for the very first time. So I want to challenge you. I'm going to do this I'm going to be on a kick now. Here's the deal. It's so easy to throw stuff away. I don't like throwing stuff away. I do it. I mean, I've talked about this. I'm not going to work on my television if it goes out. I can't. I don't want to. But isn't it sad, like in the old days, if your washing machine went out, I repaired washing machines for a long time. I would replace the motor. I'd replace different belts that would go out, water pumps. I'd put a new pump in a washing machine. It's one thing to be said that if the washing machine goes out after 4 years and you have somebody haul it off, it goes into a landfill, and that's kind of sad. All that metal maybe gets scrapped or something. But it's only got one little thing wrong with it. Why do we have to throw the whole thing out? I don't understand that. That's just not in me to wrap my head around that. If one thing is wrong with my beehive, I don't throw my whole beehive out. I'm going to fix what's wrong. And I like looking at my property that way. I like looking at my house that way. So you are going to get a real artistic high if you can start repairing things. And my gosh, you're already on YouTube watching me. There's a lot of YouTube channels on whatever's broke. You can find a video on how to fix it. It's so many things that can be fixed, I'm excited. All right. Well, I'm going to show you this. Be sure and subscribe to my channel. We are topping 152,000 at the time of this video. of subscribers. Those of you that enjoy watching, I appreciate that. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. And when you do, you can click on the bell, give me a thumbs up. You'll be notified each time that I work hard and spend time talking with you and making videos, okay? Appreciate it, guys. I love you. Thanks for watching. David Burns, unedited, from the green chair. And if you haven't seen my video, my live stream, where I answered a lot more of your questions about things you don't want to do in late summer, check that video out right here. Gonna see you over there. See you next time. I'm really working hard today, so let's get this published.